And we didn't have panties. That was the worst part.
What do you mean you didn't have panties?
We didn't wear panties.
So you want to say you didn't steal the money?
I didn't.
And Ngonyo?
Yes, dear.
Did you kill whoever you were accused of killing?
No, I did not kill anybody.
So tell us what happened. You know, if it's Thursday, it's all about...
A story a day.
A story a day. And today's story is heart-wrenching, folks. You need to sit back for this one. I'm telling you, cannot make this stuff up. Imagine being incarcerated for more than 20 years. Make that 22, which means at the turn of this century is when you were sent to prison accused of murder on death row. That's exactly what happened to Anne Ngonyo. 22 years in prison, and she came, oh, by the way, she left behind a 6-year-old child and an infant as well. 22 years later, they are all grown-ups. They probably didn't even recognize her when they came out, and the situation was harrowing, trying to get back into society. And Ngonyo joins us here with her daughter, Jerry, Natasha Jerry, who's now 28 years old. Yeah, do the math. 6 plus 22 makes it 28. And, you know, coming out to a world where they have nothing to their name. What do? Well, Teresa Njoroge is the founder and CEO of Clean Start, empowering women who have been incarcerated. By the way, she herself was incarcerated, spent a year or so in prison. That's where she met Anne Ngonyo. They met in prison, and she came, and Teresa came out, and she started Clean Start, creating second chances for women and their families from prison. Welcome to Hot 96, folks. This is an incredible story, Teresa. Welcome. Karibuni sana.
Thank you very much for having us, Jeff.
Thank you. Your stories, I mean, these stories need to be told and retold.
We've come a long way, and we're grateful that you're amplifying this.
Tell us your story. What happened to you?
I went into prison having been maliciously arrested, falsely accused, and ended up wrongfully being imprisoned to serve a 1-year sentence for a crime I hadn't committed. And I served that 1-year sentence with my daughter, who was then only 3 months old. And it was during that time of serving that wrongful incarceration that I met thousands of women like Anne, and children who had been impacted like Natasha by the criminal justice system. And I came to realize that I wasn't the only one who had been impacted by the criminal justice system unjustly. Jeff, thousands of poor, vulnerable, marginalized women are overrepresented in our prisons. And, well, this is women and girls and children, but I must say, even our young men who shouldn't be behind bars. Why? They're in there because of the overuse of custodial sentences and the over-criminalization of poverty. It's avoidable cases.
Tell me something. So you had a 3-month-old when you were sentenced?
Yes.
And how long did you stayed with her or him throughout that period?
I stayed with her throughout that entire sentence.
And how long was your sentence? You said you served a year.
Yes.
Is that what it was? It was a year, or was it more?
It was a year. I was sentenced to serve a year. And then while I was in prison, they gave me some remission. So 8 months into the sentence, I was released on, good behavior. Like Jeff, I had bad behavior when I was going in.
But there must have been a reason for you to be imprisoned, Teresa.
And that's the thing. People think there's a criminal reason as to why you're behind bars. And that's not the truth. I was in prison wrongfully incarcerated. Wrongfully. Jeff, 3 years later, I got cleared of any wrongdoing and compensated by the Kenya government.
You sued them, or?
I went through my court of appeal and, of course, followed through for compensation for the wrongful imprisonment. It was avoidable. And that's because our magistrates and judges are not held accountable for the consequences.
So you want to say you didn't steal the money?
I didn't.
And Ngonyo?
Yes, dear.
Did you kill whoever you were accused of killing?
No, I did not kill anybody.
So tell us what happened.
Okay, what really happened is there was this man. He was the commissioner of lands. And I didn't know his dealings because I had a boyfriend. And this boyfriend told me now that there is a certain man, a big man. And this man, he wants to know, because there is another man, a broker, who is stealing his land. He just wants to know if he has got any land anywhere else apart from the land he knows. So And I asked the boyfriend, what is this all about? Who is this man? He said, he's a big man, don't bother. All I need you to do is just to say, I'm your sister, and you come from Switzerland, and you want to buy a land, so that this broker can show you the pieces of land he has. And that is what happened. And I went there innocently, and I met this man, and we talked, and I gave him the story.
About you coming from Switzerland?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
But on this fateful day, that was on 4th on February 2000, and we went to Ketengela, and he showed me the land, innocently. But this man, this boyfriend, had 2 other men. And these 2 other men, they had bought a blunt object. But I asked, what is it for? Said it's for the beacons, for digging the beacons. And that is what they used to beat this man up.
To death?
Yes.
In your presence?
In my presence.
You saw them?
Yes.
Beating him up?
And I told the police.
And then?
And that man was left on the roadside. And we drove off.
Didn't you ask your boyfriend what was going on here?
These men, I was with them in the car, Jeff. These men, they are 3. And they threatened me if I say anything to the police. So I was held accountable because I am an accomplice.
Yeah.
Which was right. In the eyes of the law, it was right.
You were an accomplice?
Yes. So I wrote a statement to the police, headquarters, CID. I told them what happened. They did not listen. But one policeman said, this girl, but then I was only 28. This girl, I think we should place him under our program of protection. Then she can come to be a witness. But the investigating officer refused, said this girl is going to run away because this is her boyfriend.
Did they arrest all of them?
Yes, we were arrested. Even the Commissioner of Lands, Mr. Gashanja. Yeah.
And were they sentenced as well?
No.
Your boyfriend?
Yes, my boyfriend is still in prison.
He's still in prison?
Yes.
Is he serving life?
Now he's serving 50 years.
50?
Yes,
and the other?
From life to 50.
And the others?
The 2 hitmen.
Yeah.
The 2. I really don't know how this system works. The 2 men who beat this man to death. I told you, Jeff, I was there. They were released on 2019. And this judge gave me 40 years. After bleeding, begging, doing everything, showing everything I've done in prison, that I'm remorseful, I've been rehabilitated, and she gave me 40 years from life to under my mother. And this is a woman judge.
And she released these men?
Yes, the 2 of them.
And you served 22 years?
Yeah.
What was it like at the Langata Women's?
It was not easy. By that time, prison was hard, Jeff. It was hard. First, there was no water. Can you imagine prison with no water? And these are women. And we didn't have panties. That was the worst part.
What do you mean you didn't have panties?
We didn't wear panties.
What? Mulikuwa uchi?
Yes.
You can imagine,
Come
Jeff,
on, Teresa.
It takes away your dignity, it takes
Yes.
away your self-esteem, it takes away your very core being.
And they refused you to wear panties for a
That is
reason?
not the worst part. You enter into prison the first time. Okay, you don't know what is happening. They call your name. You have to say, madam. You don't know about anything to do. Madam, you are beaten. You didn't say madam. Then there is a strip search. That's the worst part. A strip search.
And they search everywhere?
Yeah.
Kila shimo?
Yes.
It reduces
I really
you
don't
to
know what they were
nothing.
looking for.
They're looking for drugs. They're looking for contraband.
Yes, they
They're
are.
looking for all of that.
In a very
So,
inhumane manner, yes.
but did they beat you a lot? Did they humiliate you?
there was no beating unless you were stubborn. You know, there's also those women who are very stubborn. If you cross their line, there'll be a beating. But if you cooperate, you have no problem. But strip search is a beating on itself.
Yeah.
So what we did one day, as the capital offenders, all those who are on murder charges and robbery, we had that they are coming the human rights. So we wrote a letter, and we are told to say nothing and to write nothing. So we wrote a letter and we hid it. So when they came, we gave them. And this woman was mad, very mad. And he called the officer, said, "How dare you? You put these women with no panties," because one lady pulled her dress up and showed. Yes, and she was on her periods.
Oh.
Yes.
With no panties and no pants.
That was how it was. It was that bad. And there is no water.
How did you survive? How do people survive like that, Teresa?
It's very, very tough, very degrading. And you know, we're saying as the users of this system, something is wrong and something needs to give. We need to change the way the way justice is administered to especially women and children. Something truly, truly needs to change. And the prisons are on the receiving end. This problem begins from arrest. When the police officers or the city councils arrest you for all the bylaws and the hawking and all this kind of stuff, and then to shoddy investigations under the ODPP's office. So investigations are not done well. Prosecution there's always adjournment, which brings such lengthy periods of time for trials. 2-3 years later, you've still not accessed justice. And then so by the time you're coming into prisons, I mean, if someone is sent to them, who are they to say, there's a warrant of being conviction from the courts? So prisons can't do anything. They receive all these people who are coming in. Change needs to happen from arrest to prosecution to the courts. That's where we need to sieve and not take each and every person who's poor, who can't pay bills and fines of 300, 400, 500. How much does it cost to imprison one individual versus what fine are we taking them in for? Do the math. It doesn't add up at all. You're taking someone for lack of paying a bail of 500 or a fine of 1,000 or 2,000, and you're going to spend thousands of taxpayers' money to keep this person inside, yet they're no danger to society. Then you don't have enough resources to care for them while they're in there.
Makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense.
Natasha and Jerry, let me bring you in this conversation here. Did you realize when your mother was going to jail? Do you remember?
Yeah, I can remember bits.
What do you remember?
She left me and the house help in the house.
Did you know where she was going?
No. She usually went to work in the morning. So after, when I came back from school, we were with the house help. I stayed. And I remember that night I was not feeling very well. I had fever. So the house help took me to a neighbor's house. I think that neighbor was my mom's friend. So, and she gave me some painkillers. So when I slept, I remember I fell from the bed and I slept on the floor.
You were 6 years old?
Yes. So I remember shivering the whole night for some reason. I don't know why. So after 3 days, I never saw my mom.
Were you asking the house help? Were you asking, where's mom? Where's mom?
I was asking her, where's mom? And she also didn't have any idea. That's when I saw my auntie. She came and she took a hammer.
Mukandapi?
She took us to Muranga. She took me to Muranga and paid the house help, and the house help left. When I went to Muranga, I was so excited because she had a big house, like 6 rooms. 6 rooms was very big for me. And so I was all excited, a child. I'm excited. I'm seeing a big house, a big television, big seats. We didn't have all those big things where we used to live. So I remember that morning she cooked for me hot dogs, and I was like, "Wah, nimefika London." Then later in the evening, she cooked chicken. As I was eating chicken, for a moment, I saw my mom
In the news.
with two policemen, one here, and I was like, "Oh my God, that is mom. What is she doing with policemen?" And back then, in my mind, I knew if you have any policemen are not good people. They're the ones who catch the bad people. And I was like, is my mom a bad person? Why is she with the policemen? And I started crying. And all the good things that I was seeing, they were no longer good.
What did your aunt tell you? Did she explain?
So she switched off the television, and she never explained anything. I did not even ask.
So you just left it like that?
Yeah, I just left it like that.
Okay, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years passed.
So when I realized, when I was still young, at around 8 years, my mom asked so that I can go and see her at the court.
At the court?
Yeah.
Not at Langata Women's?
No, it was at the court. And when I saw her, and everything was a bit foggy, and I could not understand everything that was happening. But I remember crying. I did cry a lot. I even got very sick. I had ulcers because all this time I was just wondering, why is mom there? Why is she there? And what's happening? And I didn't have the guts to ask, because even when I was sent to the shop to buy newspapers, her pictures were all over. She was the first picture in the newspaper. Everywhere I go, I just see my mom. Television, my mom. Day in, day out. In the morning, my mom. Lunchtime, my mom. In the evening, my mom. The newspapers, my mom. It was frustrating.
Yeah.
It was very frustrating, and I didn't want to talk about it at all.
And did you try to appeal your conviction?
Yes, I appealed.
And?
It was dismissed.
Each time, or?
No, the first time, that was on 2011. You see, this system of ours, they have a problem. I don't know whether they have a problem or they're just happy doing what they do.
Sentencing people and sending them away.
Delays.
And the delays.
Yeah. It took us 11 years to go to court for an appeal.
11?
Yeah. And then it was dismissed. You see, just like that. They don't care, the judges. They don't care, these judges. Yes, they're comfortable. They don't care. They dismissed us. Just like that.
But maybe they just thought you were, you're a killer. Maybe that's what they thought.
Of course.
But then where's the evidence?
Yeah.
You've got to have the evidence without any doubt whatsoever that this is the person, because of the impact that your decision has on people's lives, on generations to come. We've got an entire generation of children who have been impacted because their parents are either still behind bars or have been through the system.
Like Natasha here.
Like Natasha.
She's affected.
And they're in the thousands, Jeff. And it takes years on end to heal the trauma. These are people's lives that you're affecting. So when you make that decision, it truly better be the right decision.
Yeah.
With very minimal error. But now we've got hundreds, if not thousands, languishing behind bars because they can't access justice. It's too expensive for them. They can't afford legal representation. And our justice system is not making it any better for them.
Do you think it's a broken system?
Definitely. I don't think I know, because I've been through that system. And I have seen, and every single day see thousands who go through that system. It's broken, and I think it's the users of the broken system are okay with it, because why is it taking such a long time to fix it? To put dignity, if it's in the correctional system, to ensure that those who come into the courts are not just given custodial sentences, but non-custodial sentencing is offered.
Yeah.
The men, the young men, the young women, for those who are behind bars, 22 years behind bars.
That's a lifetime.
There could have been a review. How many others are still behind whose reviews could be done for them to leave.
Tell
or
me something,
elderly or sick.
Tell me something, and how were you released? What happened for you to be released?
It was on a presidential pardon. I've done a lot of reviews. It's about the probation. They come, they question you, they do things, and then it's like that. They go. You wait, another year, you wait, then they come back. So even at this time, I was called in the office. I thought it was a joke because I've been waiting for it forever. Yeah.
And then they told you you're free to go.
Just like that, yeah. You are free to go and pack.
And then they released you and...
Yeah. Yes, just like that. Go.
Alafu what? Uchukue matatu uende home au...
Hajanipatia hata pesa ya matatu. What are you talking
What do you
about?
mean?
They did not give me.
Years.
What do you mean?
Yes. And I've been there.
For 22 years. Nothing.
Utaenda home aje?
They don't care.
To a country she can't even remember.
I don't know the roads.
Yeah, exactly.
Or where exactly is she going to
Yeah.
that evening, that night?
Where did you go?
My daughter came for me.
How did she know? She had been informed, or you called her? You got?
I was told, call somebody to come and pick you up. And you know, time is running. We need you out of here. You are not sleeping here today.
And that's a very huge gap we have in the system. There's no aftercare, handhold, or a transfer.
Yeah.
I mean, these people have been through a system that's been passing them along to the other duty bearer. So when you're arrested by the police, you're handed over to prosecution.
Right.
When you're handed over from prosecution to the courts to prison. But once you're done, who are you handed over to? Because they just leave and try to figure out life by themselves. What if something happened that night? She would have been rearrested.
Or you go back into crime.
Exactly. And that's what happens with most of them, Jeff. They just go back to crime because you have nowhere to go to. Which door are you going to knock and enter? You have no rent. You have absolutely nothing. For the mothers, how are you going to continue taking care of your children or yourself? You know, it's a huge gap.
And in this case, Natasha was already a grown woman. You were already an adult. Natasha, had you visited your mother in prison before? Had you in the 22 years?
Yeah.
So
I used to go there.
How often?
Okay, when I was young, I used to go during holidays.
And spend what, a day or half a day or a few hours? Or?
Maybe even some minutes, not even hours.
What?
Yeah, and you know they have these
Like bars?
Yeah, not even bars. Ni kama iko na tushimo tudogo sana, ni kama hata sijui niite aje. It's like a mesh. Mesh
like a
wire.
mesh, yes.
And they are many, so you can't even see her face.
What?
Yeah, I will struggle. I will just hear the voice, but seeing her face, it was difficult. I didn't have any other choice.
What was that like for you, though? I mean, in the back of your mind, you must have said...
It was difficult.
Yeah.
Because like in school, the teacher gives you a composition, write about my family. And I'm like, which family am I writing about? Okay, you're told to fake it, but in your mind, you're like, write about my family. Which family am I writing about? I don't know about my mom. I don't know about my brother, you know? And I will shed tears. Then I would compose myself and just imagine anything good.
How old is your brother now?
He's 20.
How is he?
He's okay. He's fine.
Does he remember your mother?
Yeah.
And does he remember you?
Yeah, I think.
Is he okay?
You know, Jeff.
He must be traumatized, obviously.
These are broken children. It takes a lot of love to rebuild them. They've had to, from 6, being an infant, these children have to learn how to take care of themselves. And Natasha and her brother are some of the successful cases, even though they're still going through the healing process.
Yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of other children are in worse of situations. The day mom went to prison is the day they hit the streets, is the day they got molested, raped, is the day they dropped out of school. I mean, the consequences are immediate. And that's what we don't think about when we're sentencing these mothers who are single mothers and the sole caregivers. These children are left by themselves. Who is held accountable about these children who are left by themselves to care for themselves? I mean, is there any government agency that we can hold accountable for all these children who've been left by themselves when mom has gone to prison? Because the trauma is horrendous. You should meet them and see them. It's really, really tough. And that's why we're saying that we really need to take this matter with the seriousness it deserves. Because if it is avoidable, then get into a non-custodial sentence that will not break the family and let mom serve a non-custodial sentence.
And what is non-custodial for
So
people
that
don't
could
know?
be a community service order. This lady's doing some community service, and that's where
But if they are killers, that can't work.
true. And the good thing is, it's a very small percentage. According to research, it's about 30% of them, and that's what we're saying. The ones who truly need to be behind bars, let them go behind bars. It's a small percentage. The highest percentage does not deserve to be there, 70%. So it won't be congested in the first place. Families won't be broken. Rehabilitation will happen because you can imagine, because of the high population, then prisons are not able to rehabilitate even those they should be rehabilitating. It's too much. The overcrowding, everything is overcrowded or overstretched because we're not serving like we should. When they come out of prison, it's too late for us at Clean Start to begin intervening at that time.
Okay, tell me about Clean Start.
Indeed. So Clean Start works to empower women, girls, and their children who are impacted by the criminal justice system, and our journeys begin behind bars in the prisons. So we go in there and we begin by what we call the Ufunuo Leadership Program. And this program is trying to help this lady to forgive herself, to envision life post-imprisonment, to help her handle her time while she's in prison. But while we're doing that, we're also looking at who are, your family members who you need to reconnect with, because family support and societal support is so key for success when it comes to reintegration. Our largest part of our work is in the reintegration piece. When they leave, for example, Anne, make sure that she has a source of income when she comes out. Remember, they can never access a certificate of good conduct.
Never.
Which is required for employment, which is something else that our government truly needs to relook into. Because if I have done 22 years behind bars, I've definitely paid the price for the crime that I committed. Now, when I'm out, I don't need to continue being punished for that crime. 2-3 years later, whatever the law would say, give me a certificate of good conduct to continue rebuilding my life.
Can you get a certificate of good conduct?
Now I can, because I got cleared of any wrongdoing.
But that's rare.
That's a rare. Most don't.
And what do you do? What kind of work do you do?
I'm a dressmaker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you learn that in prison or?
Yes, in prison.
And how is life? I mean, are you able to make an income?
Yeah, it's just a small income, but I'm so happy because at least Clean Start, they are with me. They are holding my hands. There are those people, there are those women, there are those even the men who get out of prison and they have nothing and they have nowhere to go.
Yeah. Like you had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
You would have been back in the streets.
Yes.
But
If it wasn't for second chances,
Yes.
where would you be today?
I don't know. I really don't know.
How do people get involved? How do they get in touch? Because obviously there's some women who have come out of prison, they don't know what to do, they've lost hope in life, and they don't know how to go forward. How do they get in touch?
Yeah, and I must say we're very grateful because, for instance, some well-wishers got in touch with us and are supporting us so far to pay for Anne's rent, which is 15,000 shillings a month, and at least we've been able to pay for about 4 months of her rent, but we need to continue paying for that until she stabilizes. And besides the rent need, there's also all the other needs of, cutlery, beds, mattresses, and all this kind of stuff. Food, and all this stuff is stuff on a daily basis. We're knocking on doors to collect. Corporates, individuals, do you have an extra mattress? Do you have an extra blanket? Do you have some food you could spare? Do you have some cash you could give to pay rent for some of these women? Because today, Jeff, this morning, there's a woman being released. Where is she going? We've got to get some rent, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 to start. So they could get to us, either, first and foremost, we're all on all social media handles, Clean Start Africa or Clean Start Kenya on some. They could get us on Twitter, they could get us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on Instagram. Clean Start Africa or Clean Start Kenya. Then they could email us, cleanstart at Clean Start Africa, support at cleanstartafrica.org, and we will get in touch with them, or they could call us on 0728 623434. It's urgent, Jeff. We need to do something because so many women, so many young girls and children truly need our support to offer them a second chance. If my family had not stood with me, I too do not have any idea how I'd have rebuilt my life. But seeing these women on a day-to-day basis come out of prison with no support whatsoever, I'm appealing to all Kenyans out there who can. Let's do something to give our sisters and our brothers a decent second chance.
And that's why they end up on Koinange Street, or they end up, right? And don't you think?
Yes.
You have no option. You have no choice.
You've got
No
it
choice.
right. Yeah, I met one of the girls, and she said to me, I'm going to the brothel because I'll get a 50 bob there. Instead of going to school. Why? Because of the stigma.
Yes.
She's already been impacted by the criminal justice system, and she's not seeing a brighter future, So, yeah, if you are in a position where you've got opportunities and you've got some extra, let's think about, especially during these very tough times, those who truly need that hand up and an opportunity. And that's all they're asking for, an opportunity.
Absolutely. Natasha, what are you doing now?
Now, right now, I'm in Clean Start, mentoring young children and girls who are being affected like me.
Are there many? Do you run into many of them?
Yeah, okay. In the rehabilitation centers,
Yeah.
in Dagoretti, in Kamai, yeah.
And what do they tell you? How are they affected? I mean, do you see that they are very disturbed? Are they traumatized?
Yeah, some of them, because some of them maybe have run away from home, maybe they have been rape cases, or maybe their parents are inside and they have nowhere to go, so they are taken there. Yeah, so it's painful.
This must be really tough, huh? It really must be.
Psychologically,
Yes.
It's really, really tough, Jeff. I must be honest. It's really tough.
So what keeps you going then? What keeps you inspiring these people? What is it?
Hope that it could be better, because we can't afford to lose hope. If we lose hope, then we lose it all. And the fact that I have seen close to 4,000 women go through our programs and be amazingly and incredibly transformed. We're setting up income generating hubs where they can come and continue being dressmakers, where they can come and continue with their bakeries, baking stuff. There is hope. If we come together and do it right, then for sure there is hope. And that's what keeps us going amidst the psychological and traumatic experiences that we've been.
That's pretty messed up. But again, give us the details in case there's a woman, a young lady who's listened to you for the first time and didn't know where to go, didn't know how to reach out. Give your details again.
Yeah, so you could call on 0728 623434 and we'll respond to you and see how to support and assist you. Or you could reach out through that number and we could collaborate and do something for a woman, a young girl, or their children. Or you could get us our website, www.cleanstartafrica.org, or email us, support@cleanstartafrica.org, and on all social media handles, Clean Start Africa or Clean Start Kenya. Get in touch with us and let's reimagine justice. Let's reimagine a future